we're going to change direction here now. I did a little talk a few days, I think it was Wednesday, seems like a million years ago now, at about 11 o'clock in the morning, at a place here on the Smithsonian Festival site, on the Mall in Washington, D.C. It's called the Square Mile, this little bunch of benches with a stage. And basically what happens is a panel of people are brought together to talk about their home patch. And there was a fellow Cardiffian amongst them, and her name is Mab Jones. She's the only Ely poet I've ever met, to be honest with you. But Mab, I do know a poem about Ely. Can I say it for you to get it out of the way?
Please.
Yeah, I think this might have upset her because she was on the verge of penning an ode to Ely, and I got in first. This is from the late Ryan Davis. He used to say it. I met a man in the Green Dragon who said he was from St. Fagans, but it was Ely, really. Stony faces from the Americans, and gags of disbelief from the Welsh, if I could see them, I'm sure. Because Ely is a part of Cardiff which is sometimes derided a bit. You know, sometimes unfairly, I think. But, you know, I was an Ely boy when I was a kid. I grew up in Ely. I was in Archer Place, up the top of Grand Avenue, around the back of the... I won't go into that now, but... Will you please say hello properly to Mab Jones? She is fantastic. Hiya, Mab.
Hiya. This is a new poem I've written. It's a comic poem, and I'd like to dedicate it to Tracy Dussier, one of the volunteers who was very kind to me last week when I was too hot and brought me ice cubes. It's called An American Dream. Before I came here, I had an idea of what the American dream might mean. I imagined Americans driving Americars, wearing Ameri hats, smoking Ameri cigars, as tall Ameri women in small Ameri bras, in Ameri pools went swimming beneath Ameri stars. I imagined the Hollywood sign in the hills. I imagined the glamour of $1 bills. I imagined the vice that they'd have in Miami. I imagined the lifeguard girls looking like Pammy. I imagined the hot dogs they'd sell in New York. I imagined the way that Dan says they would talk. I imagined the White House as clean as a tooth. But then when I got here, those dreams all went poof and disappeared, you see. As I had feared, really, America's stranger and weirder than we could ever imagine our side of the sea. Unreal, surreal, more ditzy than Dada, less glitzy, more durder, a bit off the radar. I mean, there's a bank chain here called Chevy Chase, that comic buffoon with the loon-looking face. When you enter a shop, the staff say, "How are you?" But giving an answer's not the thing to do. Outside the White House, there are several vans parked. With the word Secret Service, they're all clearly marked. You see food combinations and think I won't risk it, like peanut butter and jelly or gravy and biscuit. Instead of a green man on each traffic light, that's right, he is white, which is quite impolite. For breakfast sometimes they have something called grits, a bit like our porridge but more full of bits. And as for the toilets, well, they flush themselves. That or they're served by invisible elves. It's very surprising when you are done, just as you're rising, still with a bare bum, to hear the loo flush. You feel you must rush. But there is a worse thing here that makes me blush. And that's how much water you put in the pot. In Wales it's a little, but here it's a lot. So all of your business just floats around on top. Though that might just be in DC. And I wonder if it could be a comment perhaps on some of the chaps who rise up here politically. In any case, till the bowl clears automatically, of all the things here, this I emphatically stress is the strangest sight certainly seen. A daily distress that turns white back to green in my face as I sickly survey the full bowl and race to leave quickly is always my goal. I try every time to avert my poor eyes. The flush only pulls itself after I rise. But after 2 weeks and at least 20 tries, I find that it's impossible. I'm at the end of my wits. It's been even worse because of all the biscuits and gravy and grits. But soon we'll be back home in Wales, I guess, and I can, like decent females, see less of my mess. I confess I'm no Gillian McKeith. I know we are all supposed to be what we eat, but of this strange dream that Washington's been, that's one thing I wish I'd not seen. Thank you.
That's what we call Welsh toilet humour, folks. It's a saleable commodity. That was absolutely brilliant. Mab Jones, once again, thank you, Mab. She's too funny to be a poet, that girl. Lee, I hope you're not insulted by what she just said. No. Broad-minded, yeah. Get us back on track for the 4th of July. Who's going to be next and why?